program illustrates a new way to present ideas. Ideas are fragile and need to be treated delicately. Normally, we present our ideas one-on-one and problems come up. And these problems usually sink the idea. We have a better way to deal with new ideas, and that's called the incubation team process. First, we're going to start off with how ideas are introduced typically today. In the opening scene, David introduces an idea to John, and John reacts to this idea. Typically, problems come up. Problems are associated with that new idea, and they come up right away. And so the idea generator or initiator is looking at it and saying, gee, I thought it was a good idea, but now there's 50 things wrong with it. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea, and he's going to go away discouraged and maybe lose that idea to Weyerhaeuser.
Thanks for coming on short notice to hear this idea.
Sure.
I've been thinking about this idea for about a year, and I've actually taken the time to work up some samples to show you. Let me cut to the chase. The long and short of it is we make boxes that are white, we make boxes that are brown. And we only offer those two, and it isn't because we designed boxes to be white and brown. We designed boxes to be white and brown, or they're white and brown because they're a process limitation. They're white because that's what we bleach to, and they're brown because we don't bleach it. Well, the third product I'd like to introduce to you is the notion of a yellow box. And I'll give you a quick and dirty simulation of that to illustrate my point by showing you what it might look like. Here is a simple two-color separation using green ink and red ink. And if we do it on white, it doesn't look all that impressive. I mean, it's a still life of fruit scene.
It doesn't look bad.
No, but you'll see that we're a bit weak on our yellows, and it's tough to generate a yellow when you can't do yellow with red and green ink. But if we had, and yellow is important because it's a memory color, but if we had a substrate that was yellow, all of a sudden the thing looks like it's a process reproduction. But we didn't use 4 inks, we used 2. So the long and short of it is, the pitch is, can we produce a yellow box and sell it as a standalone product, irrespective of what kind of graphics we put on it, conventional graphics or ChromaPack graphics? And 2, as a separate product, if we had a yellow box, then guess what? We could do a lot with those 2 inks, as this little simulation shows. And if, in effect, by having a yellow box, we would have the third ink, if you will, not in the ink in the plate, but the third ink is effectively in the substrate. And that's a lot cheaper than trying to put in another ink station or use a higher-end press. So that's the pitch. What do you think?
Well, David, where would we make this? Gosh, if my memory serves, we've only got white top capacity in the west coast. I'm not sure that we have any white top capacity in the east, and of course, as you know, that's where most of our converting facilities are.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if this was a high volume product, you'd need more than just West Coast.
So then there's the whole issue of the trim at the corrugator, really. I mean, if we're talking about rolls of paper and we have to cut a box out of this, then we've got trim and waste and things like that. What do we do? What do we do with that?
Well, you're going to have trim and waste with craft and white.
Yeah.
So arguably this is no different. It just happens to be yellow. So then the question is, how do you handle your trim workflow? Is it commingled? Is the white and craft mixed? Are they separated? The yellow waste would go pretty much the same workflow as the white.
Well, but the difference would be, though, is that at the corrugator, they might be scheduling certain boxes, or they might have certain boxes and ideas. And if they're working with, let's say, a 98-inch web, and let's suppose that this, for whatever reason, filled up only 66 inches of it. Let's say you had a huge tray or something like that, or just for the sake of argument. With a craft, they would have other boxes that then they could trim out of the balance of the web, and or they could turn boxes or things like that. And with white, I understand that some plants even have a difficult time just getting all the trim out of that. So it seems to me like with yellow, this might be difficult to maximize the use of the paper roll.
So let me get this straight. You're saying that you always want to be running maximum width on the corrugator.
Well, I think they do if possible.
Right.
John didn't do anything particularly wrong in this opening scene. He reacted like people normally react to an idea. First of all, they think of all the things that could go wrong with this idea, and they bring that up right at the beginning. We want to change that and go to a better process. And so in this next scene, you'll see the first big change is that we don't have one-on-one. We have 9 people listening to David's idea. The next thing is that there are 6 things that David wants to get from this group of 9 people. First of all, he's going to start out by defining what problem or customer need he sees out there. And then he's going to go to number 2, which is his solution to that idea. Now, people are going to ask clarifying questions and everything, but the main thing is to listen to what David has to say and give him feedback. And to do that, we go to number 3, which is David's going to ask the question, what do you like about this idea? Now, notice the scene that the people are in a good mood and friendly and joking, and that's because we purposely had lunch together. The next thing you should notice is that David is the facilitator and also the idea generator. These meetings are for the facilitator, or David, and his ideas.
Thanks for coming, you guys. The idea that I want to share with you today is twofold. First, I think there's an opportunity to make a third color box. Instead of white, craft, I think we ought to consider a yellow box. It basically means yellow liner. We can make yellow liner in several ways, either by dyeing mottled white sheets, like you see here, or we could coat craft with a suitable coating of materials. And if we do that, I think there's a second opportunity in that we can enhance or improve two-color graphics. Instead of trying to reproduce art with just, say, a red ink and a green ink, if we were to use chroma pack graphics on white, while that's good, it's not good enough. And I think if we printed it on a yellow substrate, it looks like process. So, the basic idea is to produce a yellow liner in one of several ways, and to introduce a third box offering, white, craft, and yellow, with enhanced graphics. What do you like about that idea?
I like the use of the yellow. I've heard that yellow is the color that attracts the eye most. A lot of fire trucks have moved to that, so it would stand out in a crowd of other boxes.
Great.
And there's some precedent too, I think, for at least the light yellow box. A lot of our big markets are the Japanese markets, for example, that are used to the straw-colored boxes. They start with a yellow color. We've actually we've dyed our liner board in Springfield to give it a light yellow color, not as heavy as you've got there. But there's a natural marketplace out there that's attracted, that has an expectation that boxes will have some of this yellowish color.
Colin, your observation about yellow being a very bright color, I can tell you that psycho-visual research shows that of all the colors, yellow is the one that we're most sensitive to.
What do you like about this idea? Didn't ask what are all the problems with that idea. He's asking, what do you like about this idea? And when you get done with that, then the second question is, how could we make this better? Now you have 9 people there that have been interacting. They might give some new approaches to this idea.
Okay. I think at this point I'd like the group to give me their thoughts on ways to improve on this idea.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me would be intellectual property rights around this change and how we could capture or capitalize on that. What do you think about where you could go directionally there?
That's a good question. I think offhand, one thing we could immediately do is to try to chain the notion of yellow substrate to chroma pack and to lock it up as a chroma pack extension. That would be one thought. I don't know if you could patent an actual box that happens to be of this color. What you might be able to do is trademark certain colors. If we can get Coca-Cola, red or IBM blue, there should be no reason why we can get certain colors trademarked in some kind of a hue space.
Yeah, sort of like giving us a different identity.
Yeah.
With the new color.
Yes. So it's possible. I'm not sure.
There may be another positive aspect to this in that you were talking about potential negative aspects on the gluability, but what if we built the adhesive into the coating so that we could maybe even eliminate the dextran portion of the gluability and make it a heat set or something, so all you do is hit it with heat and wherever you put it together it glues.
Pete, that's a brilliant idea. The combining of the adhesive with the coating materials solves two problems. We're coloring the product and we're also promoting gluability. By combining those two functionalities, we improve our IP position, the very thing that Deborah's after. You want to get more novel solutions, and that would be one way to do that because you're solving a myriad of problems. Yeah, that's very good. You can come again.
Oh, okay.
David is learning a thing or two. Some of the people in that group gave him some ideas that he hadn't considered, and it built on that idea. Now he has to go back to the audience and ask them, how can I make this idea happen?
Well, if we're done entertaining ideas on how to make it better, I'd like the group to give me input on how we make it happen.
One of the key things in projects is to find a sponsor at the business level that would help you push this idea through. So you got to convince them of the business case and things like that. So
Very good. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Well, obviously that sponsor should come, I think, from the marketing side. There's a lot of gung-ho marketing guys out there who will recognize the opportunity and want to build on it. And, far better to start with them perhaps than a bunch of manufacturing guys that's going to tell you how difficult it makes their life until you explain to them how easily it's done. So I'd go for a marketing guy.
Now we're getting to the end of the meeting. David has got some positive input, made the idea better, has some idea how to make it happen, but now he needs to know the truth of what everybody is thinking in the meeting. And so the final question is, any thoughts or opinions? And go around the table and people should give them what they really think. Because David needs to go out of the room knowing whether people agree with him or not. It's very important for the champion, which is David, to know that other people agree with him and they think it's a good idea. And knowing that, David can go out of the room and make it happen.
Well, I really appreciate all your input. I'd like to wrap up the meeting with final thoughts. If you could give me your candid opinions for closing comments, I'd appreciate it.
Well, one of the things that I think is terrific, first of all, and what I think was exciting about it is just sitting and discussing everything with everybody. A lot more ideas come out. And there's stuff that I'm doing in other project areas right now that will mesh with this very well.
Yeah.
And I think that's, kind of turns you on. It's great.
Especially your functional adhesives.
David, what I think is the idea is great. What I'm queasy about is the risk and benefit kind of a thing. So what I would say is, when you talk to the sponsor and you say, here are the benefits, and to mitigate that, hey, we go out there and spend all this money, I'd say you spend a little bit of money and you get some of the data, market data, maybe for whatever amount of dollars, instead of going, hog wild about it. You say, okay, if I can put this in front of a customer and spend $20,000, I can get a lot better answer than where I am. So I'd present it that way rather than, because the idea is great. It seems really good and everything. I just don't know what is this worth. So what if you have a yellow box? Is this worth millions, or is this just big deal? Everybody has a yellow box, or something along those lines. That's what I would say you do with it.
I really like the demo here where you showed us the difference in the contrast for the bananas. So I just think that alone would possibly bring on new people, new customers. That's just really prominent.
It's really dramatic. You got a white banana and a yellow banana. One looks like a banana, the other looks like nothing.
Parsnip.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and I'd like to offer my assistance in helping you get this sponsored and into a project that'll roll out into a commercial deal.
Great. Can I have that in writing?
Yes.
I'm just curious if we've achieved your goals. Have we given this sort of thing that you're looking for?
Absolutely. I have to level with you guys. I had a meeting earlier, one-on-one, and suffice it to say, I had a lot of good input, but a lot of resistance. And frankly, I was anticipating 8 times that resistance, and on the contrary, I got 8 times the input. What Pete was saying, and Terry, and Jerry, and all of you guys, I didn't anticipate some of these great ideas that could be folded into this. So I'm grateful, and I really appreciate your taking the time to come to my meeting. Thank you.
You've just seen a demonstration of an idea incubation team. Contrast that with what you saw in the first scene where Dave came in to present to John one-on-one and big problems came up, as opposed to the idea incubation team where you had 9 individuals building up the idea, making the idea generator feel good about that idea, and coming out feeling like a champion. Champions are required to move ideas forward so they can make it happen at Weyerhaeuser.
Well, what they're going to do is make these bathing suits, especially for men, let's say, and put them in like a Coke machine in hotels. So you're on a business trip and you wanted a bathing suit and you forgot yours, you could go for $1, you could get one of the machine. So to start out, this knitter mechanic's wife, who was a seamstress, made up a bathing suit, and they were going to try it on a model at some paper show in Chesapeake Bay. But one thing we all neglected to think about was the stretch. So it didn't work out too well. I guess it's kind of slipped off of the girl when she got wet, when she jumped in the tub. So that was kind of the end of the bathing suit project.